Assassin's Creed Rogue is the worst rated game in the franchise. Some call it underrated, others call it the worst Assassin's Creed game ever made. Let's find out if it's a hidden gem or absolute dog water. Bollocks. We begin with the staple of Assassin's Creed, the parkour.
What we're doing here? Because Chevalier.
And it's refreshing for it not to be as slow as an old bag driving a Honda Jazz for a change. I go to assassinate my first target of the game, who looks a bit like Edward from Black Flag. Nope, just some random baldy egghead. But have you ever wanted to do parkour with another assassin through the peaceful forest?
In case you fall down and hurt yourself.
I must say, the combat so far feels nostalgic. It feels good twatting a blade into the spine of blokes who utterly bun the colour red once again. And this man's relatable fascination with rope almost touches my soft side. We then perform a Grand Theft Auto and steal the ship. The map isn't small by any means and is set in the North Atlantic. It's like Black Flag but with icebergs. Ship combat feels almost identical to Black Flag, which isn't a bad thing.
Fire!
I still prefer it over Skull and Bones, where you play as a god-to-crud human spinning top.
Sorry for the rough exit. Earpiece working, check.
Aside from looking at the neat Easter eggs, which are kinda cool, I'll admit, the nostalgia wears off for a moment as I'm reminded of how I used to hate these Abstergo segments in the old Assassin's Creed games. You know it's bad when you're more interested in what an old Henry out of nowhere would taste like. We then find ourselves at some rich guy's island, which appears to have been a tradition for longer than we thought, although this one is accompanied by assassins. But what could we find in this house? Some 18th century A-list celebrities, a bunch of tied up peasants in the basement. Now just Shay's zesty little jog. A training sequence commences which shows off the unique gameplay of Rogue, and I have to say, shooting, parkour and stealth feels pretty solid, but let's see how it handles against proper enemies, as penetrating dummies is never as fun as the real thing. Our goal is to find a mysterious artifact that is rumoured to be more valuable than an RTX 5090 on eBay. I somehow doubt that though. Wait until you see what it actually is later on. We reach an enemy base where we can put AC Rogue's combat to the test. And did you know when climbing up a ladder, this game's unique combat move, the bitch slap of death, is very effective? Although my ritual of killing a hard-working peasant doesn't exactly end how I imagined. This yoga position needs to be studied. Rogue also has an interesting game mechanic where enemies have an outrageous special ability to continue their conversation about what they did over the weekend despite being brutally murdered.
Did you meet her?
At her third wedding.
This guy even cans it and just throws himself into the fire. Graphically, Rogue is a bit of a beauty. Aside from the shit-piss textures that only decide to make their arrival the minute I say the game looks good. Nah, cheers for that. Love the game. Maybe that's why people hate this game. Well, let's not speak too soon about that. But the real question is, do you think I can land in this little boat from about a mile up in the air? Bollocks. What do you reckon? Second time lucky? Anyways, welcome to River Alley, a place that's harder to find than your cock in a cold ocean. And this place looks lovely, to be fair. You know the combat is good when you can't help but reduce the island's population by a third. I really do have a soft spot for the old Assassin's Creed combat mechanics, and surely I can't be the only one. And Matey gives us our first major target to kill. He reportedly has info on how to find this artifact I couldn't give a royal dick about. We then politely leave the island. But Christ, the game decides to do me in for being a bit of a bully. I can't blame it. Is it just me that hates missions where you have to tail someone and not get detected? It's like my pet peeve. Well, imagine doing that but on a damn ship.
But I haven't been able to confirm that.
Some bright light realises ditching the gigantic ship might help us stay hidden, so we follow our target on foot, and it feels cinematic to be fair. Performing kills like this might look the bollocks, but in reality, ankles like these are just on the horizon. We enter the hideout undetected, but I'm sure you've wondered what a Prestige 10 Goblin kill looks like in this game. Well, let me show you. We rob the target ship looking for the artifact like it's a typical Friday night in London, and instead of finding a couple of Tetley tea bags and a crack pipe, we find this little puppy, which is a new weapon in Assassin's Creed Rogue. One shot to the dome and enemies turn on each other, so it's basically a berserk dart and not a new weapon, is it? Although the animations in this game still look impressive, I have to say. But I'm sure you're wondering who our target actually is. Well, let me give you a hint. It's the one who's walking like he's turtling a big almighty schlong of a shit. Let's see what happens if I get his own men to murder him. That was interesting. Due to how fun the combat actually is, I'd happily take on every single gobshite, but the game forces me to go back to my ship as it does kick off a bit. We decide to lay low for a bit on this mysterious island where I admire a crackhead bopping to a non-existent beat. We then get more expedition from a man who clearly hasn't heard of something called a bin, and are told to kill a bloke called Smith who reportedly holds the artifact I literally couldn't give a dick about still. I agree the story hasn't exactly shot blood into my dick with excitement, but the piss poor reviews still don't make much sense just yet. However, as we progress, we do find ourselves in another trailing mission, but with a twist. This time we actually get boarded by the Templars, which I can't really remember happening too often in Black Flag. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do love this aspect of the game. I'm just happy it gives me another opportunity to heighten the demand for swimming lessons. You also have to respect this guy's pose. I don't know about you, but I used to think I was hard as nails doing this around the pool as a kid. As we fight more gobshites on land, I discover the Templars' biggest weakness, aside from wearing anything that isn't the colour red. Yeah, it's now clear why taking swimming lessons is so vital. But do you remember the rope dart? This is a very useful weapon in the old Assassin's Creed games that I wish was brought back. After murdering dozens of men that makes Ben Affleck's Batman look utterly poxy, we finally approach our target and listen to every word of his plea with real compassion.
Think about what you're doing, assassin. Your brotherhood is using you.
But the artifact he possesses turns out to be a shitty old jewellery box you'd find around your nans. That all seemed worth it, to be fair. Cheers for that. Honestly though, Assassin's Creed Rogue surprised me. This was my first time playing it, and to be brutally honest, I enjoyed it, which is a welcome change from slogging through a bunch of dog-dung games recently. Yes, the story is almost as boring as being in the presence of your in-laws for about 4 minutes. And despite Shay's zesty little jog, he's no Edward Kenway. But the parkour, combat and graphics are solid. And it's like Black Flag but in a refreshing new setting. Despite it doing very little to improve upon Black Flag, it's still very fun and worth checking out. If you enjoyed Assassin's Creed 4, don't let the bad reviews stop you playing this, as I think you're going to love this game. But what do you think? Did it deserve all the hate, or is it seriously underrated? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comment section down below. And to find out 8 reasons why you need to play Assassin's Creed Unity in 2025, this video might really surprise you. Make sure to click the card on screen, you won't want to miss this. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.